Well, hello to you tuberubers and tuberettes alike around the world, across the nation, and even south of us. Good to see you. Come on in, have a seat. Short talk in the trailer park with an old guy. I just got back from eating down there. It's a Sunday morning. I guess I like to do that on Sundays. And I had something, what was it today? An omelet. And, well, there were hash brown things on the side. Too greasy again, but they're all right. And it was a good breakfast. I probably drank a little too much coffee, you end up all wide-eyed. Just wanted to kind of chit-chat with, it's like it's Sunday morning. I guess I'll have to jump in the shower, get ready to go to church after a while. But, this whole thing, I'm feeling like I really need to get a real good grip on what's happening at our church because, frankly, I feel like I'm kind of lost just sort of wandering around in there. Everyone else seems to have some clue as to what page we're on, but as a group, I mean, so it's just a strange fascination I have in my mind. I'm thinking today in terms of the spiritual reality of what we're seeing around us, manifesting, in the news. There was that little fraud, De Niro, ranting and raving the other day in front of a courthouse in New York. And the funny thing is what he was saying was actually correct, was that if Trump does get elected, this kind of government will go away. And which kind? The kind that Biden has generated right now. These people somehow have this weird fascination with the idea that Trump is a future Hitler of some ilk, although there's no evidence for it. But never mind that. In order to prevent this evil, tyrannical man from coming to office, we must be evil and tyrannical ourselves. And so we're going to trash the Constitution. Now we're ruled by nobody other than some oligarch somewhere. They call it, the dark world or somewhere. And so there's humans who are very powerful, rich, and influential, like that Soros wart on the butt of humanity, and others. The idea is that these men also, in turn, are being controlled by demonic forces, individual demons corrupting, and it's through these efforts, through these spiritual pathways, that the enemy is making headway. And then it shows up in people's lives. And then we act all surprised, like, gee, where'd that come from? Well, it's been building and building. And so I was thinking today in terms of the earth, the air, fire, and water. I think those were the original four elements. That's what I was thinking about at breakfast, was trying to remember what the four were. So I'm pretty sure I got earth, air, wind, and fire. And so our ancestors, the ancient ones, they didn't work off of a periodic table in the same way that we do. Their version of reality may have included the idea of atoms, but not in the same fierce mathematical thing that we have done with it. And so what have we actually done with this tremendous ability with mathematics, as an example? Well, there was this guy named Einstein who came along, and he was talking to Franklin Roosevelt in a letter saying that, hey, you know what, we're really on the verge of being able to split the atom. And the results of that could be fantastic in a war effort, something along those lines. Well, anyway, of course, Einstein got pulled into this, and a lot of other guys did. They built the world's first atom bomb, and it was like I believe it was a 10 or a 15 kiloton. That's 15,000 tons of TNT would be roughly the equivalent of the Hiroshima bomb, I think. I hope I'm not making a huge error there. It might have been as high as 25. But I don't know what the modern, as they call them, tactical nukes are. See, there's strategic weapons like the big 10 megaton bomb things. But then the Army and probably the Air Force, I don't know, has smaller munitions. They're still atomic. But, a modern tactical nuke is probably going to be, I'm guessing, in the neighborhood of 25 to 50 kilotons minimum. Well, that's one big damn blast. And these fools in our so-called leadership here are playing around with the idea of going to war with Russia, hurling nukes, as if that was like a really good concept to follow. What are they just? It's beyond stupidity, isn't it? It's beyond being corrupt. It's beyond being blind. they're being driven by the enemy, at least in part. And so there's this weird upside down feature to everything you look at nowadays, where if you Google it, say a Snickers candy bar, one side of the thing says best thing ever, everybody ought to have some, promotes health and longevity in laboratory rats. Page 2, this stuff's poison. It was designed to kill you. Stay away. And you can find that same kind of endorsement on practically everything out there. But the pluses and the minuses, the pulls and the push, the politics of all that, I'm not here to get into all of that exactly. There's a good news in the world. The kingdom has come. It has commenced among us. And the proof of the pudding is that the king came. He dwelled on his earth and walked his own planet. And after the mutineers killed him, he was raised. And he ascended later and is glorified in that same body. See, in other words, at the center of the news, there's spiritual truth. But at the center of that spiritual truth is the testimony of Jesus. The church needs to be remembering this is what we're about. We're not talking about our trendiness and our ability to read cultural junk and kind of have a phony baloney Christian version thereof, sort of a disco light, you know what I mean? They used to have these things called discos in the 70s, and they had a big mirrored ball up there, and so they'd wind up lasers and fire them at the ball, I guess, and so there was the lights blasting all over the place. So I never went into those places. To me, at the time, it just seemed insane, and I was like, why would I even go in there? But the point is that we have this light show, and it's supposed to capture your attention. It's supposed to draw you in. And the earth, air, wind, and fire, the four elements, we stand on the earth. We breathe God's air. Earth, air. And in the wind, there's the idea of when the good Lord breathed into the nostrils of Adam, who was a kind of a clay mannequin at the time, kind of like J.C. Penney made out of clay down the street. J.C. Penney dummies. I'm sure you've seen them. But anyway, getting into a conversation about mannequins right in the middle of this. What is that? So the idea is that when we have these spiritual forces in the world manifesting, it is our Christian duty to we are the ones who are fighting these things. We stand on God's earth. And through the wind, we breathe, essentially, moving air. Think of moving air and life. He is the Spirit, He is life, He is like living water. And the refreshment He brings in His presence, this is the answer. It isn't to get caught up with politics and who's Trump and who ain't Trump and whether I'm going to vote or not. All of the ins and outs and all the ups and downs. And the good Lord was speaking of wars and rumors of wars. So we've got both. We've got an active hot war in Ukraine and basically one in Gaza, almost one in Taiwan. And the U.S. just ain't up to this. She can't handle 3 war fronts like that, not at once. In fact, I'm not sure she could handle one correctly, not with the leadership that we have. But getting back to it just for a minute, I just wanted to, before I ship you off on a Sunday morning to go find a church somewhere, I just wanted to say, what are we about? I mean, as Christians, what are we trying to get accomplished? Do we have a goal? I mean, in terms of the kingdom and its coming, the kingdom has come. It is currently coming now, whether you like it or not, and it shall be fully realized in the future when the Master shows up again. Do you want to contribute to that? Do you want to be part of what's eternal? Or would you rather dilly-dally your life away? But still, we got to get involved. We still got to stick our neck out there. We still got to say what's right in a corrupt, deeply wicked generation. Outside, I just hung up this morning. I went down to the hardware the other day, got some little dinky dog American flags about yay big on this little stick. And so I hung one upside down on my antenna on my radio for the truck. And then I put it kind of like half-mast, read in between the lines there a little bit. But the international distress symbol, it says that essentially the government of the United States is in free fall. The inflationary pressures are nothing compared to the collapse of the dollar itself, which looks like it's coming soon. We're in for a wild ride, folks. It's going to be crazy. Everything's going to be distracting you. Everything's going to be worrying you. Everything's going to be trying to scare you. Jesus Christ at the center. Our testimony is of the Lamb of God who takes away the sin of the world. He changes us from the inside out, and that's why I'm not freaked out about a possible atomic war. This world is in the Lord's hands, but in this struggle, we are to be praying. We are to be calling down curses upon these demonic traitors, and to ask that the human slaves of them would be sheared off and saved. We're asking that at the cutting edge of history, Jesus Christ be identified as the King, and as the far end, as far as ways you can get, again, he is named one true King, the Holy One of Israel. Hey, come on now. If it ain't about him, who cares what it's about? Because the big problem is that until we deal with him at the center, we cannot even think about overcoming death. And that's why we're cowards. We're afraid to die. And we just won't say so. Think back to the 2020 episode with the warped needle. What were all those people so very afraid of anyway? You might die? Get used to it, Bubba. And it's going to happen to you whether you like it or not. I don't fear death, not because I'm bold and brave. I don't fear death anymore because I've already died. And in Christ I've been raised again. And now I realize this is just the first little baby steps that a baby could possibly make before a kind of an Olympic gold medal leap, high jump 47,000 feet or something. I don't know. There's a transition coming in us. And when it's fully realized, you will be amazing. But in this current time now, we are the ones who are the enforcers of what's right because the authorities have collapsed. Church, family, and state, all three institutions have collapsed. It's up to individuals to pray, to bring down the curse of God on evil, and to bring the blessing of salvation through regeneration, supernatural resurrection of his enemies turned into friends. If it ain't about that, you tell me what it's about. But I'll tell you what, living this way, working inside this paradigm, I find it very, very wholesome. It feels like suddenly the bones pop into joint. Oh, that feels so much better. I don't know if you've ever had a shoulder dislocated, but boy, when that thing pops back in, oh, it's like, thanks for doing that. He's like that. He's refreshing. He's new. He's clean. He's wholesome. He's real, and he's fun. But most of all, he's truthful. And you can't buy him off. Don't even think of it. Someday he's coming. And in the meantime, it's up to you and me to pray and to do right and to speak the word as best we can. Get with it. It's going to be a good day.